The Forsaken Heir. Previous episodes are available on the playlist. You can also visit our website for your favorite stories. A link is provided in the video description. Episode 22. What if I accidentally put the clothes together and throw them into the washing machine and wash them into pulp? What a big heart. Big scary. Fredman Wilson's angry face was twitching faintly at this time. He didn't even understand why this waste could have so much money. Isn't he just a son-in-law? Charlie asked the hostess at this time. Since no one is robbing me, I can also get 100 million. This super quality purple ginseng should belong to me, right? The host hurriedly said, now I announce that this 300-year-old purple ginseng is back. Before he finished speaking, Fredman Wilson hurriedly said, don't worry. I have to increase the fare. The scene was shocked again. The auction starts at 5 million, and all the auctions have reached 100 million. Do you need to increase the price? This purple ginseng is not worth so much money at all. Are these two crazy? Baron Away hurriedly reminded, oh, Wilson Dong, $1 billion is a big loss. With this money, what's wrong with it? Fredman Wilson asked, if you can't get it, what about your new medicine? What about my illness? Just as he was talking, a middle-aged man with a little bald head rushed over and said to Baron Away, I'm sorry, Mr. Wei. The laboratory was waiting for the results just now, so I came late. The person who spoke was the chief pharmacist of Wei's Pharmaceuticals. He had just arrived from the pharmaceutical factory to help Baron Away check the purple ginseng. Baron Away hurriedly said, Professor K, you just came here, do you think the superb purple ginseng in the host's hand is worth 100 million? 100 million. Professor K shook his head and smiled, it's not worth it. For 300 years of purple ginseng, the highest market price is only 30 million. It can't be higher. 100 million will only be bought by fools. What about Wilson Dong's disease? Baron Away asked. Professor K said with a confident expression, in fact, it doesn't have to be 300-year-old purple ginseng. We only need to find a few 100-year-old purple ginseng to purify and replace it. 100-year-old purple ginseng on the market, the value of one plant is only about 1 million, and 5 is worth 5 million. The price/performance ratio far exceeds that of 300 years. At this time, the host asked Fredman Wilson, Wilson Dong, how much do you want to add? Please tell me the specific amount directly, otherwise it will be difficult for us to continue. After hearing what Professor K said, Fredman Wilson felt confident in his heart. He felt that he could not be taken advantage of, so he should give this opportunity to Charlie and let him hurt him. So he immediately shook his head and said, I decided not to add it. It is simply mental retardation to spend 100 million to buy this kind of thing. Only people with poor brains can do this kind of thing. There was a boo in the scene. If you have no money, you can say you have no money. If you are reluctant, you can say that you don't want to. If someone else is mentally retarded, what kind of sour spirit is this? Fredman Wilson was booed by so many people, and his heart was a little irritable, but he didn't dare to have an attack, so he had to bite the bullet and endure it. No one would have trouble with money, and he didn't think it was worth spending tens of millions to buy face. The host then said, 100 million once. 100 million twice. 100 million 3 times. Congratulations to Mr. Charlie, the transaction. Charlie nodded in satisfaction, looked at Fredman Wilson, and said with a smile, "Send you a friendly reminder that you can't cure Yang Wei's disease with any medicine, so I advise you not to waste your efforts." Everyone looked at Fredman Wilson together. Fredman Wilson was ashamed and annoyed, and cursed, "You are Yang Wei, and your whole family is Yang Wei. I tell you, I am very good." Charlie smiled faintly, "Who can't use it, who knows in his heart that the hard place is not hard, what's the use of bare mouth?" Everyone laughed at Fredman Wilson. Could it be that this well-known Chairman Wilson has really lost his male power? It seems to be the same, otherwise, why does he have to bid for a premium purple ginseng? And also mixed with Baron Wei of the Wei family. Those who are here today are all people from the TCM field. Everyone knows that the Wei family is studying a new drug that can strengthen male virility and greatly restore male abilities. It seems that Fredman Wilson and Baron Wei are mixed together, and they want to be the first drug test. People? Fredman Wilson gritted his teeth angrily, and blurted out, "You named Wade, don't spit people here. Mr. is very capable. My own concubine has given away his hands, and he said he has strong ability. If he is really capable, do he need to give it away?" Fredman Wilson blushed, and said annoyedly, "You, what are you talking about?" Wendy also questioned angrily, "Charlie, why are you ruining people's innocence for no reason?" Charlie sneered when they saw the two of them looking anxious and depraved. He was too lazy to quarrel with them. He took the best purple ginseng directly from the host, and said to Shi Tiankai and Qin Gang, "Okay, there is nothing I'm interested in here. Let's go." After speaking, Charlie got up and walked out. Shi Tiankai and Qin Gang hurriedly said, "Mr. Wade, we will send you off." "No need." Charlie waved his hand and said, "I can go by myself. You can stay and socialize with everyone." As he said, he glanced not far away and kept staring at Shi Tiankai's Kobayashi Ichiro in secret, and reminded Shi Tiankai, "Old Shi, after today, if someone steals the medicine from you or steals the medicine from you, you don't resist, just give it to him if he wants, understand?" Shi Tiankai nodded immediately and smiled, "Mr. Wade, don't worry, she understands." Qin Aoxu's eyes were always on him. Seeing that he was about to leave, she was a little anxious. He hesitated and asked in a low voice, "Mr. Wade, can I send you off?" When Qin Aoxu first came, Charlie saw that she had something on her mind, and that she had something to say to herself. Seeing that she finally had the courage to say it, he nodded and said, "Okay, you send me." Qin Aoxu looked at Charlie gratefully, and said respectfully, "Mr. Wade, please." Qin Aoxu respectfully accompanied Charlie to the door. Charlie looked at Qin Aoxu, who was hesitant to speak, and asked, "Aoxu, honestly, do you have something on your mind?" Qin Aoxu bit her lower lip and said with some embarrassment, "Mr. Wade, you can see it all. You are almost writing on your face, can I see it?" Charlie smiled slightly and said, "If you encounter any difficulties, you are welcome, just tell me." Qin Aoxu subconsciously touched her face, feeling her cheeks hot. Although she was originally a valiant, cheerful, and generous woman, she was always shy in front of Charlie. So she calmed her mind, and then said seriously, "Mr. Wade, I do have something, and I want to ask you for help." Charlie nodded and said, "Just tell me." Chin Aoxu said, "Mr. Wade, I have a good friend in college. She used to have a very lively, sunny, and positive personality. But I feel that she has been brainwashed by her boyfriend recently. Doing a lot of extreme things. Once when she was scolded by her boyfriend and wanted to jump off the building, I was persuaded. Later, her boyfriend was brainwashed and prepared to swallow sleeping pills to commit suicide. I told the teacher to rescue her." Speaking of this, Chin Aoxu said sadly, "But my best friend has been completely brainwashed now. Not only does she not thank me for saving her, but instead feels that I broke her relationship with her boyfriend and quarreled with me several times. I even cut off contact with me. I think her condition seems to be wrong these days, so I want to persuade her, but she directly scolded me. I'm really afraid that something will happen to her if she goes on like this." Charlie asked in surprise, "Brainwashing? Was it MLM by her boyfriend?" Chin Aoxu shook her head and explained, "It's not a pyramid scheme. I collected some information and found that it seems to be a very popular means of chasing girls, conquering girls, and controlling girls." Speaking of this, Chin Aoxu said indignantly, "These scumbags seem to pursue girls and fall in love with them, but in fact, they are able to control the girls to be their cows and horses, and even die for them. For pleasure, but many girls are very innocent, sinking into it step by step, and eventually suffer serious injuries and even lose their lives. These scumbags are simply a bunch of unforgivable bastards." Charlie frowned and said, "There is still such a bastard?" "Yes." Chin Aoxu said, "Before my girlfriend was in trouble, I didn't expect that there would be such a person, but after I carefully understood it, I discovered that there are not a few scumbags like this, and they take pleasure in playing with women. No conscience at all." Charlie said coldly, "Each of them is given their lives by great women, but they still take pleasure in playing with women. Such scum is simply the dregs of society." Chin Aoxu said indignantly, "This fellow scumbag is not a day or two. Last year, a girl in our school was pregnant and jumped out of the building. It is said that he instigated him. Another girl was repeatedly insulted by him because he didn't give it to him for the first time. Feeling very dirty, I left a suicide note saying that I wanted to wash my own filth. He committed suicide by jumping into the river. It is said that there are also 4 or 5 girls who were forced to drop out of school because of his mental disorder. 2 of them died." Charlie frowned. He had never thought that there would be such a scumbag, so he immediately said firmly, "In this case, I'll take care of this. You take a moment and take me to see you. You girlfriend." Chin Aoxu burst into tears with excitement, grabbed Charlie's hand, and said, "Mr. Wade, if you are willing to make a move, then my girlfriend must be saved." Charlie said, "As long as this kind of thing comes from constant psychological hints at work, I'm not sure if I can relieve the other party's psychological hints to your girlfriends, but I can give it a try." Chin Aoxu nodded repeatedly, "I believe you can do it." After all, Chin Aoxu said, "Why don't you come to my school at night? I will take you to find my girlfriend." "Okay." Charlie said, "If I can, I would like to see the scumbag who plays with your girlfriends. Is he from your school too?" "Yes." Chin Aoxu said, "He is the school grass of our school. He has a great reputation in the school. He is handsome, rich in family, and can coax girls, so many girls like him, and because of this, he can keep spoiling the little girl." Charlie sneered and said, "Okay, a scumbag who likes to give people psychological hints, I would like to meet him for a while, and let him have a taste by the way, what is meant by treating his body by his own way." Charlie made an appointment with Chin Aoxu, and met at the Oris Hill School of Finance and Economics where she was studying in the evening, and then returned home with the 300-year-old purple ginseng. On the way, Charlie called Hongwu and Isaac Craven respectively, telling them that someone was worried about Shi Tiankai's medicine, so they asked them to send someone to protect Shi Tiankai secretly while staring at Kobayashi Ichiro secretly. Isaac Craven had been in Oris Hill for many years and had a great influence, so Charlie asked him to set up a secret sentry directly at the airport and stared at Ichiro Kobayashi, not allowing him to leave Oris Hill casually. He knew that Kobayashi Pharmaceutical must be planning to take away the magic medicine from Shi Tiankai and return to Japan to study its ingredients. Therefore, he was going to dig a big hole for Kobayashi Ichiro. At this time, Ichiro Kobayashi didn't know that Charlie had already woven an invisible big net, which firmly covered him inside. In the evening, Charlie came to Oris Hill College of Finance and Economics as scheduled, and Chin Aoxu was already waiting for him outside the school gate. Seeing him coming, Chin Aoxu hurriedly stepped forward and said anxiously, "Mr. Wade. My bestie seems to be jumping off the building, please come with me and have a look." Charlie hurriedly asked, "What's the situation?" Chin Aoxu said, "After having dinner in the cafeteria, I watched her secretly. The scumbag scolded her again, slapped her and left. My best friend was crying and wandering by the artificial lake. After a long time, I'm afraid she can't think about it, and a few classmates are staring at her secretly." Charlie nodded and said, "It shouldn't be too late. Take me there quickly." Before coming, Charlie used his mobile phone to check what Chin Aoxu said. It is called the art of hitting up in the scumbag circle, and it has now developed to the point where it is a little deformed and abnormal. This group of people takes pleasure in playing with and hurting women, and is immersed in it and enjoys it. Many girls are confused by them, and it is easy to do things that hurt themselves, and some even sacrifice their lives. So Charlie was also very anxious to get angry, just thinking about seeing that girl first to see what was going on with her. Oris Hill University of Finance and Economics is very famous and is ranked among the top 3 universities of finance and economics in the country. The school covers a large area with beautiful scenery, and there is a very large artificial lake inside. Chin Aoxu brought Charlie to the artificial lake. A girl hiding in the dark rushed over and said to Chin Aoxu, "Aoxu, you can come back. Liu has been wandering by the lake for a long time. I'm really afraid of her. Jump in impulsively." Chin Aoxu hurriedly asked, "Where is she now?" The girl pointed to a dark shadow near the artificial lake and said, "It's there." As soon as Charlie looked over, he saw that the dark shadow suddenly jumped into the lake with a thud. Several girls screamed in fright. Charlie rushed over without saying a word, plunged into the lake, and picked up the girl who was about to sink. The girl was begging for death, and suddenly felt that she was picked up by someone and pushed to the surface of the water. She cried and shouted, "Don't save me, let me die, I am not pure, I am not clean, I am sorry Wu Qi, I am sorry for his love for me." Charlie dragged her to the shore while screaming coldly, "Parents whose bodies are affected by hair and skin, are you worthy of your parents for hurting your body for a scumbag?" The girl wailed, "Please let me die. A dirty girl like me has no face to see my parents. It is their shame that I am alive. Only by dying can I get them free." Charlie dragged her to the shore with ease, threw her on the grass on the shore, pointed her nose and said furiously, "You live not only for yourself, but also for your parents. They work so hard. You nurture adults, let you grow up, and provide you with education. You don't make you jump into the lake to commit suicide for a scumbag. They let you grow up, become a pillar of talent, contribute to the country and society." Several girls also cried around at this time, and persuaded, "Lu Yu, why are you so stupid? Do you think it is worth hurting yourself for that scumbag?" The girl called Liuya broke down and cried and kept saying, "I'm so dirty, I'm sorry, if I don't die, he will be tortured too, I don't want him to be tortured, I want him to be happy." Charlie couldn't help but frown. It seems that this girl named Lu Yu has been brainwashed by the other party quite seriously. So he immediately said to the other girls, "You go to one side first, and I will have a private chat with her." The other girls were a little hesitant. Qin Aoxu looked at him with big eyes full of admiration, and said to the classmates around him, "Let's go to the side and let Brother Wade persuade her." Seeing that Qin Aoxu had said so, the others nodded, and a few of them retreated far away. That Lu Yu was sitting wet on the muddy ground on the shore at this moment, muttering, "Let me die, a filthy woman like me doesn't deserve to live, I want to use death to prove that my feelings for him are true. Yes, I want to prove with death that I really love him." Charlie could see that Lu Yu's thinking at this time was chaotic. Someone must have repeatedly instilled this kind of psychological suggestion that she is dirty and that she should die. Over time, she herself will firmly believe that she is dirty and deserves to die. This kind of psychological suggestion needs at least half a year to deepen, ferment, and breed continuously. In other words, that scumbag had brainwashed her for at least half a year in order to let her die. So Charlie immediately thought that there is also a powerful psychological hypnosis technique in the 9 profound heaven scriptures, so he gathered some spiritual energy in his body into his fingertips, lightly nodded Lu Yu's forehead, and said, "Lu Yu, look, follow me." Lu Yu immediately looked up at him as if being cursed. Charlie asked, "Tell me, what is going on?" Lu Yu said dumbly, "I talked to a boyfriend when I was a freshman, and gave him his body on impulse. Then I met Wu Qi. He has been pursuing me. I also like him very much, but he knows me. After the first time, I was very disgusted with me. Every time I had a relationship with me, I would beat me, scold me, call me dirty, say I am sorry for him." Charlie nodded, and said in a supremely majestic tone, "Lu Yu, what I will say next, you have to keep in your mind for a lifetime, until you die in the future, you can't forget it, you can do it." Lu Yu had been hypnotized by Charlie at this time. Charlie's hypnotism is assisted by spiritual energy, and the hypnosis intensity far exceeds the psychological hint that the scumbag gave her, so she hurriedly nodded respectfully and said, "You can give me your orders, Lu Yu. I must go all out." Charlie said word by word, "Remember, you just did what most couples in the world would do. This is your own choice. It has nothing to do with filth, and your life is the most precious in the world. Not only belongs to you, but also belongs to your parents, and everyone who truly loves you, will never persuade you to give up your life, so you must cherish your life in the future, stay away from scumbags, and be filial to your parents, contribute to society, understand?" If the psychological suggestion is a stream, then Charlie's hypnosis is the whole sea. In an instant, he completely defeated the psychological hint gave to Yusung. But at this moment, in Yueshan's heart, Charlie's words already stood there like a beacon of life, and they would never disappear in her entire life. Suddenly she had an epiphany at this time, and realized how stupid she was before. Thinking that she was almost bewitched by him to commit suicide, she was so frightened, she immediately knelt on the ground, bowed her head to Charlie, and said, "Thank you for saving me. I will live well in the future, and will never disappoint my parents and society for their cultivation." Charlie nodded in satisfaction and said, "Since you can wake up to your senses, then I wish you a happy and fulfilling life in the future." With that said, Charlie thought and asked, "Can you tell me about your boyfriend?" Yusung said bitterly, "From now on, he is not my boyfriend, this kind of person will only make me feel sick." After that, she respectfully said to Charlie, "He is called Wu Qi, and he is the school grass of our Oris Hill School of Finance and Economics. He is not a local, but it is said that his family is very good. I was also deceived by Lard at the time. I always think he is the perfect object. I didn't expect him to be such a despicable villain." Charlie nodded and said, "I heard he killed many girls." Yusung nodded repeatedly, "I don't know how many girls he has played with. I'm just one of them." Charlie gave a hum, and said, "In this way, call him and say that before dying, there is a gift you want to give him, so that he can come here now." Yusung asked hurriedly, "What if he doesn't want to come over?" Charlie said, "If he doesn't want to come, then you tell him, you have to break up with him, and from now on, the well water will not be offended by the river. This kind of rubbish wants to force you to commit suicide and regard your suicide as your greatest achievement. If he hears that you are going to break up with him, it must be a great blow to him. Such take pleasure in being able to control women, but if women get out of control, it will be a huge pain and shock to them. They regard this kind of thing as a war. There is only one victor in the war. If the victor is not themselves, the label of the loser will be put on their heads. For these people, failure is beyond their tolerance." At this moment, in a bar near Oris Hill University of Finance and Economics, Wu Qi was sitting opposite a beautiful girl, and said with a smile, "Beauty, God is really unfair to me. I come here alone every day. Drinking 2 drinks at the bar, I saw you for the first time today, and it instantly made me feel that I had lived for nothing in the past 20 years. The girl smiled a little embarrassedly, "You are pretty good, do you talk to girls less often?" Wu Qi shook his head repeatedly, and said solemnly, "I am actually quite shy and don't dare to talk to girls, but the feeling you give me is so special." I hesitated and struggled for a long time by myself before finally deciding to come over and say hello to you. With that said, Wu Qi deliberately exposed the Vacheron Constantin watch on his wrist. This watch, worth more than 7 million, is an extremely rare limited edition. But to Wu Qi, this kind of watch is nothing at all. There are several more expensive watches in his family, each worth tens of millions. The girl recognized this piece of Vacheron Constantin at a glance, was surprised for a moment, and hurriedly pretended not to see it, and said with a grin, "Since we are so destined, why not drink 2 glasses together?" Wu Qi smiled slightly and said, "I will invite you tonight." After speaking, he immediately beckoned and said to the waiter, "Here, the 2 best Ace of Spades champagne." Ace of Spades sells for more than 20,000 in the bar, which can be said to be the most expensive champagne. Seeing that he was so generous, the girl's defense had almost completely collapsed. She just waited to learn more about Wu Qi, and then went further. At this time, Wu Qi's cell phone rang suddenly. He looked down and found that it was Yueshan's call, and he couldn't help but frown. Why isn't this woman going to die? What annoying! Seeing him with a weird expression, the girl asked curiously, "It's not your girlfriend's phone call, right?" "No, it's not." Wu Qi hurriedly explained, "Ex-girlfriend, she cheated, but she has been pestering me." After speaking, he sighed and said, "Hey beauty, waits for me, I will be back when I answer the phone." "It is okay." Wu Qi took his cell phone and went out of the bar. Then he got on the phone. As soon as he opened his mouth, he cursed, "Why are you filthy girl calling me? Isn't the insult and humiliation you brought me enough?" Yusheng was turning on the speaker at this time, and Charlie felt annoyed when he heard this. He is really giving his own psychological hints all the time. Just want Yusheng to feel dirty, want her to give up her life. However, he did not expect that Yusheng was actually completely free from his psychological hints at this time. But Yusheng still obediently followed Charlie's instructions and said, "Wu Qi, I am ready to die. Only if I die can you be free from the humiliation," Wu Qi said impatiently, "then you go quickly, don't hurt me again." Charlie typed a string of words with his mobile phone and handed it to Yusheng. Yusheng read the words on Charlie's phone and said, "Then can you come to meet me by the artificial lake of the school? Before I leave, I still have gifts to give you." Wu Qi immediately said, "No. I don't want to see you again, seeing you will make me feel sick. It makes me nauseous, makes me want to vomit, makes me want to draw my own face, and asks how I fall in love with some dirty woman like you." Yusheng said. Charlie sent another string of words at this time. "She read as she read, since you don't want to come, let's break up. From now on you will take your road and I will cross my single plank bridge. If we meet at school, I hope you can pretend not to know me." "Thank you." Wu Qi was stunned. What's the situation? Hasn't Yusheng been brainwashed by him? How could she suddenly wake up? Why is she so calm about breaking up with him? Isn't this slap in the face? Haven't all his previous efforts been abandoned? So he hurriedly begged, "Yusheng, how could you be so cruel and hurt me, and then leave me? Are you really going to break my heart?" Yusheng looked at Charlie's cell phone and read the lines Charlie wrote to her, and said, "Don't you hurt my heart? I'm ready to die." My only wish is to see you again before I die. On the one hand, if I give you a gift, why can't you promise me? If you don't promise me, then I can only break up with you." When Wu Qi heard this, he blurted out immediately, Don't break up with me. You want to see me, right? I'll see you now. On the artificial lake, right?" Yusung gave a hum, and said, "Yes." Seeing that Yusung might want to get rid of his own control, Wu Qi was extremely nervous, ignoring that there was still a beautiful prey waiting for him in the bar, and hurried back to school. As soon as he entered the school, Wu Qi hurried to the artificial lake, and finally saw Yusung on the edge of the artificial lake. He hurried to Yusung and asked, "Yusung, what gift do you want to give me?" Charlie suddenly stood up at this time and smiled, "She has no gifts for you, but I do." "Who are you?" Wu Qi frowned and looked at Yusung, and asked, "This person is your relative?" Charlie smiled and said, "I am not her relative." Wu Qi asked, "Then who are you?" Charlie said lightly, "I am the one who walks for the sky." After speaking, Charlie patted Yusung on the back and said, "Yusung, you go to Aoxu and the others, first go back to the dormitory and change to dry clothes. This has nothing to do with you." Yusung nodded gratefully, because of what happened just now, she had 10,000 trust in Charlie, bowed respectfully, and walked to find Aoxu and the others not far away. Aoxu and a few classmates saw that she had given up committing suicide and immediately held her and wept with joy. Yusung was also grateful to the fellows for their concern. Later, a few classmates sent her back to the bedroom. Wu Qi looked at it from a distance, feeling that Yueshin's current state seemed strange. Could it be that she had got rid of his own psychological hints? He was very angry, frowned and looked at Charlie in front of him, and said coldly, "You asked Yusung to call me and lie to me? What do you mean?" Charlie sneered and asked, "What do I mean? I just wanted to ask you, did your parents give birth to you and let you poison women? You are such a deceiver, do your parents know?" Wu Qi's expression also became gloomy. He had realized that he might be exposed, so he cursed, "Whatever, I play with women and it's my ability. What's the matter with you? What are you? Want to take care of me too? Do you know who I am? Do you believe it or not?" Charlie smiled and said, "What? You have a big background." Wu Qi was full of arrogance and said, "Have you heard of the Wu family? If you haven't heard of it, you can go to inquire about it. Our Wu family is the top family in Oris Hill." "Oh!" Charlie said with a smile, "The Oris Hill top family, so amazing, are the men from your Oris Hill top family like you? Are innocent women like you?" Wu Qi sneered, "I like it, are you dissatisfied? I just like to see these women being manipulated by me, just like watching them self-harm and commit suicide for me. Can you control it? Also, can I control it?" Charlie said coldly, "Do you think your family is very powerful, so you have someone to support you? Besides, how did I hear that the real big families are in the north, especially East Cliff? That's everyone. In places where ethnic groups gather, these families outside are somewhat unable to get up to the table." Wu Qi said contemptuously, "Although our Wu family is not comparable to the top big families in East Cliff, we are still one of the best in the Oris Hill area. Even the Song family in Oris Hill is not as strong as ours, so you still weigh in. You provoke me, can you hold it? Charlie nodded and exaggeratedly said, Suhang Wu family, right? That's amazing, I'm so scared. Wu Qi sneered, get out of the way if you're afraid, don't be nosy, otherwise, I can kill your whole family by just calling. Charlie smiled and said, I'm afraid to return, but I have a problem. The more afraid, the more I have to try. After speaking, Charlie observed at him murderously, saying every word, do you know who I am? You're the who cares about you. Wu Qi gritted his teeth and said, if you provoke me, even if you're the king of heaven, you have to pay the price. Charlie rounded his arm, slapped it, and directly caused Wu Qi to stagger and fall to the ground. Wu Qi hasn't been touched with a finger in his entire life, and has been held in the hands. How could he have received such a slap? He immediately got up and roared, I kill you. Kill me. Charlie said coldly, you listen to me, my grandfather's surname is Wade, my name is Charlie. Wade family master of Eastcliff, chairman of the Emgrand group. You are now weighing, you a filthy Wu family is also worthy of being arrogant in front of me. Wu Qi was struck by lightning immediately. Wade family? This is the top family in the country. Although the Wu family is better than the Song family, it is not even 1/10 less than the Wade family. Although he had also doubted whether Charlie was bluffing himself, but after another thought, this person was not afraid of hearing his own report, and he dared to slap himself. It seemed that he must be full of confidence. This also means that what he said is 80% true. At this moment, Wu Qi suddenly became nervous. He thought he could dominate in Oris Hill and even the whole Oris Hill, but he didn't expect that the young master of Wade family would appear in Oris Hill, and would appear in front of him and make trouble for himself. After all, he is a high-achieving student and a young master from a large family who has been trained by nobles since childhood. His IQ, EQ, and methods of doing things are by no means comparable to those of Harold's generation. He immediately realized that he might be in trouble, and might even bring the whole family face trouble. So he knelt on the ground very acquainted with the current affairs, and begged, Mr. Wade, I have offended you because of my blindness. Please also remember that you are not a villain. Charlie was very surprised at the speed of his transformation. It seems that this guy is indeed very smart. No wonder he can constantly control and hurt girls with psychological hints. This kind of person has two good brains. Most people can't beat him with IQ. In the end, they can only be at his mercy. However, Charlie was not merciful to him. He sneered and said, You guy, you can really bend and stretch, but you really think that if you kneel down and beg me, I will let you go. Wu Qi trembled and said, Mr. Wade, I know I was wrong. I will definitely correct my evil in the future. At the same time, I am willing to spend 100 million to compensate Yu Hung. I hope you can forgive me. Charlie smiled and said, You don't understand Charlie's behavior too much. If you are in my hands today, it can't be solved by money. Wu Qi hurriedly asked, Mr. Wade, how do you want to solve it? Charlie grinned and said, I want to treat you in my own way. Wu Qi was a little surprised. What do you mean? Do you want to give me psychological hints too? How is this possible? He a good hand at psychological suggestion. Psychology is the elective course in college. How could Charlie brainwash me? Seeing him with a surprised look, Charlie smiled and said, "Don't you like to give girls psychological hints? I'm going to add a psychological hint to you so that you have to eat shit every hour. Don't eat until you don't stop." Wu Qi looked at Charlie dumbfounded, and felt that Charlie was talking about a fantasy. At this moment, Charlie smiled evilly and continued, "Also, after I finish this psychological suggestion, if someone stops you from eating shit at that time, you will do everything possible to kill yourself until you eat shit. At the same time, if you see shit on the road, you must also eat it. If you don't eat it, you will die. Whoever dares to stop you, you will still find a way to kill yourself. The cycle goes back and forth for a lifetime. So, in your future life, apart from eating shit, you will have no other pursuits. You will not pursue spending money, pleasure, or women. For the rest of your life, you will only want to eat feces." When Wu Qi heard this, he couldn't help being a little angry, and said, "Mr. Wade, do you treat me as a mentally retarded? Do you think I will listen to you if you say this? Psychological hints are not done this way. You are not professional at all." Charlie laughed and said, "I'm not professional? I'm too professional, okay? If you don't believe me, come and try." After all, Charlie stretched out his hand and tapped on his forehead. Wu Qi's whole body seemed to have been fixed, and he paused for about 10 seconds. Then, he suddenly opened his eyes and murmured anxiously, "Where is the shit? Where is the shit? Don't take another bite. I'm dying. I'm dying. How can there be shit?" After finishing speaking, he also forgot who Charlie was, turned his head and ran to the dormitory, because there was a voice in his mind telling him that there are toilets in the dormitory building, and from some of them he can eat shit. A shocking incident broke out in the dormitory building of Oris Hill University of Finance and Economics. The school grass, super rich second-generation Wu Qi suddenly rushed into the bedroom toilet and kicked a male student who was sitting on the toilet defecating. Listening to the first half, it seems to be a story of a domineering rich second-generation bullying classmates, but this second half is really disgusting. After kicking the classmate who was defecate, he directly reached out and grabbed the stool that was just pulled out, grabbed it and stuffed it in his mouth. The scene of his devouring caused the roommates in the bedroom to vomit bile. The classmates didn't know what he was going crazy suddenly, so they called the teacher quickly. When the teacher came, Wu Qi had just eaten and he didn't even wipe his mouth. When the teacher came, he vomited and vomited to death. The teacher knew that Wu Qi family was very strong, so he didn't dare to take it lightly, staring at him in disgust and asking him, "Student Wu Qi, what's wrong with you?" Wu Qi had just recovered his sanity at this time, and felt an extremely disgusting taste in his mouth, so he wiped it and put it under his nose. The disgusting almost died. He had completely forgotten that he had seen Charlie, and he had also forgotten that he had just grabbed shit and ate it. Now he has no idea why he had a mouthful of shit. He rushed into the bathroom to rinse his mouth and retches constantly. The teacher followed and asked, "Student Wu Qi, are you feeling unwell?" Wu Qi paled and shook his head, "What is going on?" Is anyone pitying me? A classmate plucked up the courage and said, Boss, you just came back from outside, kicked the roommate off the toilet with one foot, and then ate what he pulled. Speaking of this, he really couldn't go on. He strongly controlled the thought of vomiting, and said, Should we go to the hospital for a visit? What are you talking about? Wu Qi scolded angrily, You said I ate the roommate. Several classmates nodded one after another. Wu Qi vomited for a while and cursed, Quickly take me to the hospital. The teacher hurriedly drove his car, where Wu Qi went to the People's Hospital. Several classmates who had a good relationship with Wu Qi also followed. As soon as he arrived at the hospital and saw the emergency doctor, Wu Qi couldn't wait to say, Doctor, come on, give me a gastric lavage. I ate shit. The doctor was stunned. After more than 10 years of experience in medicine, it was the first time he saw such a patient. He subconsciously asked, Why are you eating shit? Wu Qi grabbed his collar angrily, If I know, I'll come to you. Give me a stomach lavage. Although the doctor was very dissatisfied with his attitude, he was still kind and hurriedly said to the nurse, Prepare gastric lavage tools. The nurse nodded hurriedly and set about preparing. At this moment, Wu Qi suddenly felt that there was another pain in his mind, and then his whole body lost control from his mind, and all his thoughts were shit. So he blurted out subconsciously, Where is the toilet? Where is the toilet? The doctor subconsciously pointed to the right hand and said, Turn left and go to the end. When Wu Qi heard this, he blurted out and rushed to the toilet. The teacher and a few classmates hurried to catch up. As soon as Wu Qi rushed into the toilet, he went straight to open one of the compartments. After opening, instead of going to the toilet, he looked into the toilet. Seeing that the toilet was empty, he immediately exited and opened the second one. Everyone was frightened by his actions. Could it be, is he going to eat again? At this moment, Wu Qi opened the second compartment, and there was an old master in it. Wu Qi was about to rush up immediately. Everyone held him tightly and blurted out, No way, Wu Qi, no way. Wu Qi yelled frantically, Let go of me. Let me go. Let me eat, I want to eat. Everyone almost collapsed. What happened to this person? Suddenly become neurotic? Otherwise, why is he suddenly crazy, desperate to eat shit? The teacher yelled at this moment, Quickly, get him up and get out. So several people together, just carried him out. As soon as he exited the toilet door, Wu Qi collapsed and shouted, Let me down, I want to eat shit. Let me down. If I don't eat it, I will die. Please let me down. The entire emergency department of the hospital was boiling. They have seen people with various diseases, but who has seen people who are forced to eat shit? And he's a young and handsome guy. What's the reason? The doctor was also very embarrassed and asked, He just said he needs gastric lavage, why is he suddenly saying that he wants to eat something like that? They wonder if this person has something wrong with his nerves? How about you taking him to Sanity Lab Hospital, right? When the teacher thought about it, this kind of thing really didn't look like some kind of organ disease. It was estimated that this was a mental problem, so he hurriedly said, Let's go to the Sanity Lab Hospital. At this time, Wu Qi was almost crazy. He is now thinking about eating shit, and ready to self-harm if he can't eat it. He keeps slapping himself, seizing the opportunity, kneeling on the ground and hitting the floor with his head. The classmates grabbed him desperately, but he changed. Be even more irritable, and shouted wildly, "You all let me go. If you don't let me eat shit, I will die, can't you see?" After that, he started struggling violently. Because of his explosive power, a few classmates didn't hold him down. He broke free all at once, rushed to the toilet quickly. A lot of classmates hurried to catch up, but they were not as fast as him. When everyone rushed to the toilet, he had already pulled out the old master just now and threw him to the ground. He threw himself directly into the toilet and started to stuff his mouth with. Everyone hurriedly stepped forward and dragged him tightly, but he stopped slowly and still didn't stop. The old master didn't even pull up the pants and was scared, and he was shivering on the ground. Someone was frightened by the sight. He immediately took out his phone and took a video, which was posted on Facebook. An eye-opener. Oris Hill People's Hospital has a lunatic who grabs shit and eats. Wu-Ki head teacher and roommates in the same dormitory were almost tortured crazy by him. They resisted the nausea and wanted to send Wu-Chi's back to the doctor. The old master, who was pulled out of the toilet by Wu-Chi and thrown to the floor, whimpered, "If your brain is sick, don't let him out. Why is he stealing shit?" The head teacher looked embarrassed and took out his wallet, handed him 500, and said, "Master, this should compensate you for your loss, please forgive me." The old master didn't expect that he could earn 500 in this way. The grievances just now disappeared in an instant. Then he asked with joy, "Well, do you want to next time?" The head teacher retched and said, "Uncle, I don't want it next time. If you don't finish it, please continue to go in." After finishing speaking, he shouted to everyone, "Quickly, quickly, get Wu-Chi to the doctor." When he arrived at the doctor glanced at him, then vomited all the supper, and blurted out, "I beg you, take him to the mental hospital, we really can't cure this kind of disease." The head teacher said, "Well, somehow, give him a stomach wash, how dirty it is to eat." The doctor was about to cry and said, "I can wash him, but are you not afraid that he will slow down and eat again?" "No matter how I wash this, I have to put the tube in a little bit, I can't stand it. He eats so fast." The head teacher asked some of his classmates, "Is this the second time for him?" "Yes." The same bed hurriedly nodded and said, "It's almost an hour away." The head teacher said, "Then he might have to eat in another hour." Thinking of this, he hesitated for a moment, and blurted out, "Wipe him clean, get in the car, let's go to the Sanity Lab hospital, otherwise, in case of delay, it will be finished again." Everyone had to endure the nausea, wipe Wu-Ki mouth with a tissue, and then walked out with him in a daze. As soon as he got in the car, Wu-Chi came back to his senses, feeling a strange nausea in his mouth, and couldn't help asking, "What happened to me?" A sleeper sitting next to him asked in surprise, "Don't you remember?" Wu-Chi shook his head and said, "I don't remember, I just remember that I had a headache just now, and my mind was buzzing." After speaking, Wu-Chi put his hand to his mouth, he sighed, and instantly he was almost fainted. He blurted out and asked, "What's the situation? Did I eat that thing again?" Sitting in the dormitory of the front co-pilot, the old third turned around and said, "Boss, we couldn't stop you with all our hard work just now. You rushed into the toilet and took an old master." The bedmate sitting next to Wu Qi hurriedly said, "Hey, don't talk about it." Oh, the youngest realized that this fact was a bit disgusting, so he closed his mouth with interest. Wu Qi hurriedly asked, "What is going on? Tell me clearly." This, everyone looked at each other. No one wanted to describe the terrible devil scene just now, and even thinking about it, it felt disgusting. Wu Qi shouted with a dark face. "You guys can't tell me." The voice roared out, and the whole car was immediately stinking. The three classmates and the head teacher who drove were a little dizzy. The head teacher hurriedly put down all the windows and let the wind continue to pour into the car, which is regarded as blowing away the smell. Wu Qi exploded. He gritted his teeth and said to the person on his right hand, "Fourth, if you or he doesn't tell me clearly, don't blame me for turning my face with you. The 200,000 you took from me last time, hurry up, give it back to me." Hearing this, the guy hurriedly said, "Boss, I said it's okay. Just now, you suddenly had to eat that thing like crazy. The three of us pressed you, but you were too strong and broke away. After that, you ran to the toilet of the hospital, but we didn't catch up with you. You broke into a cubicle and pulled out an old master who was doing to the toilet, and then, Wu Qi's face turned black. He resisted the nausea and murmured, Have I eaten?" The fourth child nodded cautiously, and said, "Yes, you eat, vomit." Wu Qi spit out suddenly. The thing that he ate twice in a row, all vomited in the car. At this time, the whole car seemed to have fallen into a septic tank, and it smelled like the gutter, and the windows were hard to use when driving. The other four people in the car have completely collapsed. The head teacher wanted to die. He had just bought a car for 200,000 and drove it for 2 weeks, and it was covered with the vomit. It is estimated that he will not be able to drive in the future. But he also dared not say anything. After all, the Wu family's strength is too strong. The principal has already told him that he must take care of Wu Qi and must not be negligent. At this time, Wu Qi video of eating stool has become popular on Facebook. This kind of brutal and inhuman devil video has exploded in the moment it goes up. The Wu family in Suzhou and Hangzhou was shocked when they saw this video. The whole family became nervous about it. The Wu family is one of the largest families in the south of the Yangtze River. They have always attached great importance to their children. Suddenly, Wu Qi had such an unthinkable thing. The Wu family immediately realized that something must have happened, so they had to come and find out. At the same time, the Wu family is also trying every means to contact the entire network to delete videos. After all, this kind of thing is too shameful for them. How can a big family like theirs afford this person? However, the speed of this video spread was so fast, and it spread to platforms such as YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter. It almost instantly reached the hottest state, and it was instantly known. The head of the Wu family was furious. Wu Qi's father Regner immediately called Wu Qi and blurted out, "Wu Qi, what's wrong with you? What is it that stimulates you? Do you know your video?" After the video exploded, how much black was smeared on the family's face. When Wu Qi heard that the video had exploded on YouTube, he couldn't wait to hit himself to death, or just jump out of the car and kill himself. He cried loudly and said, "Dad, you can't blame me for this. I don't know what's wrong. My brain will have problems every hour, and then I will eat that thing uncontrollably. The whole person is totally unaware. My classmate said that if I can't eat that, I will self-harm and commit suicide. Dad, you have to find a way to save me." When Regner heard this, he immediately said, "Son, wait for me. I will fly over with your brother and the doctor." After finishing speaking, he immediately took his brother Roger, too late to pack any luggage, and hurriedly took a private plane from Suzhou to Hangzhou to Oris Hill. They were accompanied by the entire Wu family's physician team. The strength of the Wu family even exceeds that of the Song family by a large margin. The family has all aspects of supporting facilities, not only private jets, private yachts, but even a private medical team and security team. The Wu family's physician team is composed of 6 top medical experts in various fields, including one of the best psychiatric experts in China. However, the Wu family did not know that even the best psychiatrists in the world would not be able to cure Wu Qi disease. Charlie was at the gate of Oris Hill College of Finance and Economics at this time, and Aoxu the arm affectionately. "Mr. Wade, you are so amazing. So many of us have been useless to persuade Yusung for so long, so you just said a few words to her, and she immediately figured it out." Charlie said indifferently, "It may be that after jumping into the lake, she realized the preciousness of life. People will only see some of their own problems when they are in desperation." Aoxu nodded repeatedly, and said gratefully, "Mr. Wade, thank you so much this time. If it weren't for you, Yusung might have been short-sighted." Charlie said, "Don't worry, she will face life positively and optimistically in the future." After speaking, Charlie reminded, "You also have to be careful yourself, and when you find a boyfriend in the future, don't be fooled." Aoxu smiled shyly, and said, "Of course not. I am very smart." After speaking, he looked at Charlie with big eyes full of admiration, and whispered, "I have thought about it. If I find a boyfriend in the future, I will find someone like Mr. Wade." Charlie smiled and said, "Do you want to hire a son-in-law?" Aoxu replied with shame, "If I can find Mr. Wade, it doesn't matter if he doesn't come to the door." Charlie nodded and smiled, "Okay, you are still young now, study hard, it is not too late to fall in love after graduating from college." Aoxu mumbled her little mouth, and said, "If you meet the right one, you may talk about it in advance, after all, the true love is the biggest." Yet, Charlie also said seriously, "If you really meet the right person, of course don't miss the opportunity." With that, Charlie didn't think deeply, and said to her, "Okay, you can go back to the bedroom, I'm leaving." Aoxu said, "Mr. Wade, are you leaving now? Would you like to have a cup of coffee together?" Charlie waved his hand, "Stop drinking, I can't sleep at night after drinking." At this time, Aoxu suddenly received a WeChat message. She subconsciously opened it, and she was stunned and blurted out, "My mother, it's disgusting." Charlie asked curiously, "What's wrong?" Aoxu retched for a while, and then handed the phone to Charlie. While coughing violently, she said, "The hot video on Facebook, that Wu Qi, actually rushed to eat stool in the hospital bathroom. Oh, it's really disgusting, who would eat that kind of thing? It's sick. Charlie glanced at the video, it was really disgusting, but it was good looking at it. Isn't he the dog kid who liked to give others psychological hints? This time he's on the cusp, and feels the pleasure brought by psychological hints. Charlie could already foresee Wookiee future. He must eat stool once an hour, otherwise life will fall into the extreme of self-harm and suicide. It would be useless to tie him tightly. If they don't feed him, he would try to bite his tongue, attempt a hunger strike, abstain from water, and even keep yelling crazy. Therefore, the best way to keep him alive is to satisfy his need to eat stool every hour. Otherwise, this person will suffer torture and die within a month. But fortunately, the Wu family is also a big family, with a big support base and a lot of people. This will definitely be indispensable in the future. But Wu Qi will be a bit miserable for the rest of his life. He has to eat every hour. They don't know how long he can last. When Charlie returned home, Wu Qi was sent to the Sanity Lab Hospital. Sanity Lab Hospital is the only psychiatric hospital in Oris Hill, but it is too remote. Driving this way, 20 or 30 kilometers, the smell in this car is comparable to a septic tank, and for several others, it is simply a torture like a purgatory on earth. Just got out of the car and was helping Wu Qi to walk into the hospital. At this time, Wu Qi suddenly felt something wrong. He felt dizzy and headache in his head, so he looked at the people around him desperately, and cried and said, "It's over, that feeling will come again, after a while if I lose again reason, you must hold me back." Several people had lingering fears, but they nodded subconsciously. What they thought in hearts is that if they pull him, he will definitely try to pull them, but if he succeeds, it's really bad. Immediately afterwards, Wu Qi suddenly changed his face and shouted hysterically, "Where is the toilet? Where is the toilet?" Everyone looked at each other, desperate in their hearts. It really started again. How to do? The head teacher yelled, "Push him there. Don't let go this time." So everyone hurriedly hugged him, put him down on the ground, and then pressed his limbs tightly. The head teacher said, "You wait, I'll call the doctor to help." 3 people pressed Wu Qi desperately, but Wu Qi had been struggling desperately. One of them couldn't help but say, "Oh, I can't hold him anymore, what should I do?" "If you can't hold it, you have to press it." Another said, "Wait when I pull off the belt and tie up his legs. It's a good way." At this moment, Wu Qi was crushed to the ground, his eyes were red, and he blurted out and shouted, "Let go of me! You guys, let me go!" People passing by the psychiatric hospital are not used to this. Everyone is too lazy to take a look. After all, there are often such hysterical patients here. At this time, a retired old master living in the back family yard led a huge husky to the front. The husky smelled everywhere, and then squatted down in a circle. Seeing this, the roommate in Wookiee bedroom yelled at the old master, "Hurry up and take your dog away. Don't let him pull it here." The old master glared at him and said, "Can you control it?" The roommate was anxious, and blurted out, "You dead old master, if you don't get rid of your dead dog, something big will happen." The old master snorted coldly and said, I have been keeping this dog for 6 years. Even if it is pulled on my bed, I will let it pull it comfortably. Then I clean it up again, and I am not willing to let it be wronged. Who do you think you are? You, the roommate was speechless. At this time, the husky had already worked hard, pulled out a few times, and pulled out a lot of hot shit. Wu Qi was even crazy when he saw this scene. It seemed that he was given a stimulant in an instant, and his body's strength exploded several times in an instant. He bowed fiercely, and knocked all the 3 people on his body to the ground. The 3 of them fell on all sides, and before they had time to cry out, the 4th child collapsed and shouted, "Stop the boss!" As the 3 of them said, they went crazy to catch up. But, how can they have such crazy Wu Qi fast? Wu Qi rushed to the husky in an instant, toward the big pile of shit on the ground, instantly like a vicious dog rushing for food, opened his mouth and rushed up. The old master was shocked by the scene of subverting the 3 views, jumping half a meter high, and trembling, You, how many days have you been hungry? Wu Qi has completely lost his mind. At this time, the psychological hints Charlie gave him were extremely strong, driving him to just fill his stomach in his mind. The 3 classmates collapsed and went forward desperately to pull him away. He lay on the ground like a mad dog, eating and cursing. The head teacher just ran out with a few doctors. Seeing this scene, the doctors who were used to seeing mental illness were also frightened. They have seen all kinds of mental illnesses, but this is really the first time they saw. This is too cruel, right? As a result, a bunch of doctors hurried forward and dragged the person back from the shit abruptly, then tied the person to a special bed with a fixed belt, and pushed the person into the mental hospital. At this moment, the entire Oris Hill School of Finance and Economics is spreading Wu Qi video. Countless people will vomit on the spot after watching it, but everyone is still watching it with strong nausea, watching this video of Wu Qi destruction. Many people clapped their hands and cheered excitedly when they saw Wu Qi end, because they in the school knew that Wu Qi was a super pervert. He liked to control girls psychologically, and then forced them to self-harm and commit suicide. To satisfy his twisted psychology. Many people with a sense of justice dislike or even hate him, but because no one can provoke him, Wu Qi has never paid any price for his actions. However, Wu Qi, who likes to give other people psychological hints the most, has turned into a shocking mental retard. This is not only irony, but also a hatred. They are really happy. The Wu family's private plane has landed at Oris Hill Airport. From Suzhou to Hangzhou to Oris Hill is very close, the high-speed rail only takes about 1.5 hours, so there are no flights between the 2 cities, and it only took half an hour for Wu's private plane to fly here. After that, Regner Wu took Wu Qi brother Roger Wu and several top doctors and quickly got off the plane. On the side of the plane, several Rolls-Royce had been waiting for a long time, and the group was divided into 3 cars and went straight to the Sanity Lab Hospital. This mental hospital was not far from the airport, so the group rushed to the hospital quickly. When they reached there, Wu Qi was tightly tied to the bed, struggling with all his strength, and a towel was stuffed into his mouth. This was because he couldn't get away and tried to bite his tongue and kill himself. The doctor blocked his mouth quickly. At this time, Wu Qi seemed to be suffering from rabies, and the whole person was completely mad. When Regner saw that his son became like this, he was heartbroken and hurriedly stepped forward and said, "Wu Qi, Dad is here." Wu Qi can't recognize his father at all at this time, he just wants to fill his stomach. So he pulled his feet and arms vigorously, his wrists and ankles were tied with belts, so he quickly got all scars and even faint bleeding. Regner hurriedly said to the psychiatric expert he had brought, "Look at what is going on." The doctor nodded and said, "I will give the second young master a sedative first." After speaking, he immediately took out the syringe and sedative from the medicine box he carried, and gave Wu Qi a shot without hesitation. However, after the needle went down, Wu Qi didn't feel calm at all. He was still struggling desperately, whimpering and saying something, but he couldn't hear clearly because of the towel. Seeing that the tranquilizer had no effect, Regner hurriedly asked, "What's going on?" The expert was a bit big, and said, "Mr. Regner, let alone a person, even if it is a cow, he has no reaction at all." Regner blurted out, "You don't need to say that, I also know that he has no reaction at all. I want to ask you, what to do now?" The expert thought for a while and said, "I want to increase the dose a little bit. In any case, let the young master calm down first." Regner nodded and said, "What are you waiting for?" Experts said, "Mr. Regner, excessive use of sedatives can damage the body, so," Regner blurted out, "he is already damaging his own body, and the most important thing is to calm him down quickly." "Okay." The expert nodded hurriedly and immediately prepared to increase the dose. After another shot, Wu Qi still didn't change much. "It's really weird," the expert said, "this kind of tranquilizer has a very strong effect. After 2 injections, the manic elephant will also stop, but the young master is still so irritable, which is really a bit unreasonable." At this time, the heart expert on the side said, "No, Mr. Wu Qi's body is shaking, as if his heartbeat is fast." After that, he immediately took out a portable ECG monitor and turned it on for a test. At this time, Wu Qi's heart rate was as high as 180 beats per minute. This is the heartbeat index after violent anaerobic exercise. If the young master keeps this heart rate, the heart may not be able to handle it longer. Regner hurriedly asked, "What happens if it doesn't get down?" Cardiologists said, "This can lead to a heart failure, palpitations, or myocardial infarction, and it will be life-threatening." Regner asked, "What should we do?" The cardiologist said, "The best way is to calm down the young master as soon as possible, otherwise, the heart will be difficult to bear this load for too long." The psychiatrist on the side said, "But the second young master can't calm down now. After the 2 sedatives have been taken, he still doesn't get better at all." At this time, Wu Qi was still struggling desperately, so that his heartbeat was getting faster and faster. The cardiologist was anxious, and blurted out, "No way. The heart rate is still rising. If this continues, it will soon be life-threatening." Regner hurriedly asked some Wu Qi classmates who were already frightened next to him, "What is going on with him tonight? Is there any way to calm him down?" The 3 of them look at him and he look at them. One of them plucked up the courage and said, "Hello, uncle, after Wu Qi returned to the bedroom tonight, he started to eat shit. When he wants to eat shit, no one can stop him. It's only when he is finished eating that he can regain his sanity, the second and third time the same thing happened, Regnar's face was extremely cold, and he asked, in other words, he can only calm down after eating that thing, right? Yes, everyone nodded hurriedly. Roger on the side could not help saying, Dad, is someone deliberately pulling a revenge on Wu Qi? After all, Wu Qi has indeed hurt some girls from poor families in the past 2 years in college. It seems that 2 have died. Regnar said blankly, you said it yourself. Those are girls from poor families. Neither the living girl nor the family member of the dead girl can make any waves. I suspect there is something strange. At this time, the cardiologist said, Mr. Orville, the second young master's heart rate has exceeded 220. If this continues, it is estimated that the young master heart will not work soon. Regnar gritted his teeth and spit out 3 words after a while, let him eat. Wu Qi brother Roger blurted out, Dad, I can't let my brother go to the toilet to eat that thing. This is too disgusting. Regnar said coldly, now there is no other way. The most important thing is to save his life. Let him eat first. Wait for him to stabilize before finding a way. This night is destined to be lively and extraordinary. On the other side, Wu Qi subverted everyone's views. On the other side, Fredman followed Baron away and hurried back to Wei's house without the 300-year-old purple ginseng. Fredman felt regretful and grateful for not being able to win the 300-year-old best purple ginseng at the auction. Unfortunately, the century-old purple ginseng is naturally not as good as the 300-year-old best purple ginseng. Fortunately, it is enough. Saved more than 90 million. Baron Away took him 300-year-old purple ginseng to a friend to buy them, and they spent 3 million in total, while Charlie spent 100 million on the 300-year-old purple ginseng. In comparison, he felt a lot more comfortable in an instant. At this time, he only hoped that the Wei family's improved prescription would cure his stubborn disease. Because this medicine placed the hope of the Wei family on the future, all the children of the Wei family were present. Even the head of the Wei family, young Zheng Wei, came to the huge living room to supervise the scene, carrying his weak body. Young Zheng Wei is in his 60s this year. Wearing a tunic suit with all white hair and pleats on his face, he swayed when he walked, and he couldn't even straighten his waist. At first glance, when he was young, women played too much, leading to blood loss. Professor K, the chief pharmacist of the Wei family, instructed several assistants at this time. In the living room of the Wei family, microreactors, refining machines, and centrifuges were placed in preparation for new prescriptions. Although the 300-year-old purple ginseng was not taken, Professor K decided to give it a try. Because if this medicine really has to use 300-year-old purple ginseng, it will be difficult to mass produce it. After all, this medicinal material is too expensive and too rare to find. Therefore, if it can be proved that 100-year-old purple ginseng can be used, even lower purple ginseng can be used, then the production capacity can be greatly enhanced, and the cost can be greatly reduced. The Wei family was extremely excited up and down. Because if this medicine can be prepared smoothly and has the expected curative effect, it will be beyond the existence of Western medicine v. Agra, and the Wei family may even become a world-class pharmaceutical company with this medicine. V. Agra, a chemical ingredient called sildenafil, has a very good effect on the treatment of weakened male functions. Its previous patent has been in the hands of the well-known American pharmaceutical company Rui. With this drug, Rui has increased its market value by tens of billions. In other words, this medicine has been sold globally, which has earned Rui hundreds of billions of dollars. And if the Wei family's prescription is really done, it will not only improve the abilities of men, but more importantly, it can also regulate and improve the body of men. The effect will be better than that of Viagra. At that time, once it is sold to the world, it will not make a profit. Fredman doesn't know how much profit this medicine will have in the future. What he thinks now is that if this medicine can cure him, he must find a few beautiful women and fight for 3 days and 3 nights non-stop. During this period of time, it really made him want to die. He looked at Professor K nervously. Professor K first weighed and distinguished the precious medicinal materials, and then put them into the centrifuge in order. Professor K is a relatively powerful expert in integrated traditional Chinese and Western medicine in China. Traditional medicine uses a method of boiling. The effective ingredients are wasted and the purity is insufficient. Therefore, with the preparation of Western medicine reactors, centrifuges, and other equipment, traditional medicine can be made with effective ingredients. The medicinal materials are well retained and purified. Seeing Fredman's nervous expression on the side, young Zheng Wei smiled and said to Fredman, "Fredman, this is an improved new generation formula based on the top secret prescriptions of our Wei family. Professor K's calculations and speculations have completely eliminated them. All the toxic and side effects are genuine magical medicines at a reasonable price." When Fredman heard this, he couldn't help but looked excited, and said, "That's really great. I hope the efficacy of this medicine will not disappoint me." Young Zheng Wei hurriedly patted his chest and said, "Don't worry, Fredman, this medicine can definitely cure your stubborn illness. Before the formula was improved, I walked around the world and relied on this magic medicine. The 10 women of the Japanese imperial family are not a problem." Fredman was a little moved by the scene he described, and said, "Is it so magical?" Young Zheng Wei said earnestly, "Fredman, the magical medicine of our Wei family is 3 and 4 times as effective as Viagra. The improved formula is even more effective, even up to 10 times. Fredman suddenly felt ecstatic in his heart. There was such a miraculous effect. It seemed that his root disease could be completely cured in all likelihood. At this time, Baron Away asked curiously, "Father, if this medicine is mass-produced, wouldn't we be able to sell it overseas and suppress all the foreign competitors?" Young Zheng Wei waved his hand and said, "Of course, once mass production can be achieved, men all over the world will use my Wei family's magic drug. There is no such thing as the so-called competitors. There will only be one male magic drug on the market. It is the magic medicine of my Wei family." Having said that, young Zheng Wei said to Fredman again, "I don't know if Fredman has the intention to invest in Wei's pharmaceutical factory. If Fredman is willing, he only needs to invest 2 or 3 billion, and can return 10 billion in income within a year." Fredman was also very excited. The merchants valued profits, and he couldn't avoid them. If the Wei family's magical medicine is really that powerful, it will definitely make money. Therefore, Fredman smiled and said, "If the effect of the medicine is real, it is only 1 billion investment, he can take it out at hand, but he has to see the effect of the medicine first. Young Zhengwei was waiting for his words. He immediately laughed and hurriedly said, "Fredman, the first medicine will let you experience the effect first. If you feel good, let's talk about investment." However, young Zhengwei didn't know that Fredman's illness could not be cured by ordinary drugs at all. Moreover, although the so-called magic medicine of the Wei family has been improved, it is still unknown whether it is really effective or not without toxic side effects. But at this time, Fredman was thinking about reviving his vigor, and he could not even think about the consequences if the medicine failed. At this time, he couldn't help but feel a little dry, and he couldn't wait to take Wei's magical medicine immediately. At this time, Professor K has completed the preparation of the magic medicine. Under the action of the centrifuge, all the medicinal ingredients were separated and finally purified into a bowl of deep purple soup. "Mr. Young Zhengwei, the new medicine has been deployed." Professor K took the medicinal soup and placed it in front of everyone. A faint medicinal fragrance immediately appeared in the air, which made people feel feverish and dry mouth and tongue. It seems that this medicine is really strong. Young Zhengwei looked at Fredman and said with a smile, "Fredman, please take this medicine." Fredman was already impatient. He looked at the soup with fiery eyes, and swallowed. These days, it is too hard to endure the pain of living eunuchs. Not only the physical pain, but also the psychological shock also made Fredman tortured. Fortunately, God pitied himself and let himself catch up with Wei's magical medicine. It seems that today he can finally regain the power. Fredman held the bowl of deep purple medicinal soup, and couldn't wait to bring it to his mouth, drank it. Everyone was watching him, even Wendy was watching him. In fact, Wendy hopes to follow Fredman more. After all, Fredman's future company group is larger, and Fredman is more willing to spend money on her. At least, she also got 5 million pocket money from Fredman. Following Baron away, he didn't get any benefits. If Fredman regained his masculinity, then maybe he would really take her back from Baron away. The Wei family are also paying attention to Fredman at this time. It can be said that Fredman is the first real test product of this new drug. Everyone wanted to see him work, so the Wei family sent it out. After Fredman drank the medicinal soup, he felt a strong heat flow between his kidneys. Moreover, it is getting hotter and hotter. This heat flow keeps accumulating in the lower abdomen, and then converges towards the roots. Fredman felt that he seemed to have an urge to raise his head, which made him ecstatic. He couldn't help but said excitedly, "The magical medicine, this is the magical medicine. I feel feverish and hot now, and there are great signs of recovery." Hearing this, Baron away on the side hurriedly said, "Congratulations to Fredman for reinvigorating his glory, and his heroism." Young Zhengwei was also very excited. He stood up and smiled up to the sky, "God bless my Wei family from weathering the dragon. From today, my Wei family will become the world's top pharmaceutical company and stand on top of the world." After speaking, he immediately said to Professor K, "Professor, you have worked hard. After this medicine is on the market, I will give you a villa and give you another 50 million cash reward." Professor K was very excited and hurriedly bowed, "Thank you Mr. Young Zhengwei." Seeing that Fredman seemed to be really well, Wendy on the side whispered charmingly, "Fredman, I am here to congratulate you. after speaking, she didn't forget to give him a seductive look. Fredman was so unbearable by her voice that he thought that he was about to recover, so he directly said to Baranaway, "Brother Barana, I know that Wendy has been with you for these 2 days, but I am recovering from a serious illness and need help from Wendy. I'll try the medicine, so I will take Wendy away tonight." When Baranaway heard this, he felt a little unhappy. After all, he also has a certain affection for Wendy, and men have a monopoly on the things they like. But when he thought that Wendy was given to him by Fredman after all, now he needs a woman to accompany him to try the effects of the medicine. There is nothing wrong with returning Wendy to him for the time being, so he can only agree, since Fredman has spoken. "Now, my brother, naturally I won't have anything to say." Fredman nodded in satisfaction and immediately said to Wendy, "Wendy, you come back to Wilson's house with me." Wendy hurriedly said, "Okay Fredman, or let's go back now." "Don't you wait for..." Fredman remembered something, and hurriedly turned around and asked young Zheng Wei, "By the way, I only feel feverish now, how long will it take to fully recover?" Young Zheng Wei hurriedly said, "It is estimated that the effect of the medicine has not yet come up. You must first repair the damaged part. Only after the repair, will you regain your glory, but I estimate that after half an hour to an hour, no matter what, you can stand tall." Fredman said excitedly, "If this is the case, then the time is rushed, so Wilson will not bother you, and leave first." After speaking, he immediately left young Zheng Wei's house with Wendy. When he was in the car, Fredman was already a little uncontrollable. While driving, he fidgeted and said, "The heat is getting stronger and stronger, but it seems that it hasn't reached that place yet." Wendy hurriedly said, "Didn't the Wei family's patriarch say that the medicine must be repaired before it can work there?" "Ha ha ha!" Fredman said excitedly, "It's like the game you young people play. The enemy has 5 seconds to reach the battlefield." Wendy smiled and said, "Fredman, how long will you get to the battlefield?" Fredman smiled and said, "I guess it will be another half an hour, how come it should be there?" Ha 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 ha. Having said that, Fredman stretched out his arms around Wendy's waist and said seriously, "Wendy, after I am completely healed, you should follow me. As long as you take care of me, I will protect you for the rest of your life and you will enjoy it." Wendy said with a charming expression, "Wendy will definitely take care of you." Fredman nodded, and then said in a vicious voice, "That Charlie made me almost unable to be a man, I definitely can't let him go. This time I planted myself in Charlie's hands in Oris Hill, I don't know how many times, not only the roots were destroyed, but I also had to call him Grandpa several times." It can be said that his Fredman's face was lost on Charlie. "After you get better, you don't need to be afraid of Charlie, and you don't need to be afraid of Tiankai, just find an opportunity to kill them both. That Tiankai is also very hate, he didn't give it to him, and threatened him with his mother." Soon, Fredman drove back to Wilson's house. After the two got off the car, they passed through the living room and went straight to the guest room on the 2nd floor. The old Mrs. Wilson was drinking tea in the lobby. When Fredman was pulling Wendy back, the two hurried upstairs and couldn't help asking Noah Wilson next to her, "Fredman has his hidden illness cured?" "I don't know either," Noah Wilson said, "since the monkey went back to the room so anxiously, it feels like there is improvement." The old Mrs. Wilson smiled and nodded, and said, "Okay, okay. Fredman can regain his power, and Wendy can follow him again. Our Wilson Group's follow-up investment of 70 million is another show." With that said, the old Mrs. Wilson hurriedly said to Noah Wilson, Go to their door and listen to see if Fredman has really recovered. If he has, I will talk to Fredman tomorrow morning. About the investment thing. Noah Wilson said embarrassingly, "Mom, Wendy is my daughter. I'll go to her door to eavesdrop." "This is not appropriate," old Mrs. Wilson glared at him and said, "Can't you tell the most important thing about the useless things? At this time, the most important thing is whether Fredman has recovered or not." Noah Wilson's wife Horia nodded quickly and said, "Mom is right. At this time Fredman's situation is the most important thing. If you are embarrassed to eavesdrop, then I will go." Mrs. Wilson looked at Horia approvingly, and said, "Horia is still courageous in doing things. In our family, women are always better than your dad. I do things better than your dad, and you do things better than usual. Claire, that unfilial granddaughter who turned her elbow out, is also a bit better than Harold in doing things." Inside the room, Professor Fredman lay on the bed, anxiously waiting for the effect of the medicine to arrive on the battlefield. Wendy put on a bathrobe and went to the bathroom first. "Don't know why, Fredman always feels something is wrong. The lower abdomen has been hot and hot since he was in Way's house, but his key parts have never changed. Even at this moment, he vaguely felt itchy and aching. It is estimated that the medicine is working." Fredman comforted herself. At this time, Wendy also came back from the bathroom. Wendy, lying in Fredman's arms like a wild cat, asked softly, "Fredman, do you feel better now?" Fredman shook his head and said with an ugly expression, "Not yet, but it should be soon." Wendy deliberately served Fredman well and got more benefits, so she winks, and then lowered her head to untie Fredman's pants. Seeing this, Fredman also showed expectant eyes, and his heart was hot and unbearable. As a man, he really endured too long, too much pain. However, the next second, Wendy suddenly yelled in horror, her voice harsh. "Oh my God, Fredman, what's the matter with you? Why are you starting to grow black and purple, and the roots are still a little festered? Hey!" Fredman's brain exploded, pushing Wendy away, lowering his head to look there. After seeing it clearly, his face instantly turned green. He thought it might just be that the effect of the medicine hadn't arrived yet, but he didn't expect that his key point had become black and purple, and even some of it was corrupted. "What is going on?" Fredman's scalp exploded, and he went crazy in an instant. If he was expecting much after he had just taken the medicine, he would have collapsed now. From a good man to a living eunuch, he got hope several times, but he was struggling in desperation. After finally getting the Wei family's magical medicine, after taking it by himself, it turned out to be ulcerated. It is not too much to say from heaven to hell. There must be something wrong with the Wei family's medicine. I said that young Zheng Wei, the old and undead man, was so kind to let me take the medicine first. It's clear he was treating me as a mouse. Wendy was also stunned, and subconsciously said, "Fredman, what should we do now?" Fredman slapped her directly, and said angrily, "It's all rot, what else can I do? Go to the hospital. Let your dad prepare the car. Noah Wilson almost broke down when he heard that he was going to the hospital again. He thought that Fredman was finally effective this time, and that his daughter would be able to regain the favor of Fredman, but he didn't expect that this time, it was still nothing to do with the bamboo basket. Moreover, he heard from Fredman, it seems that the situation this time is much more serious than before. In the middle of the night, Noah Wilson drove the car, where Fredman and his 2 bodyguards rushed to the People's Hospital. Fredman didn't even hang up the emergency number, so he broke into the emergency room of the hospital with his bodyguards. As soon as he entered the emergency room and saw a male doctor sitting in front of the computer, Fredman untied his belt and took off his pants on the spot. The male doctor in the emergency room was shocked. "What are you doing? You are perverted." The male doctor was taken aback, and hurriedly shouted, "Hurry up and put your pants on and give me out, or I will call the security guard." Suddenly encountering this situation in the middle of the night, no one can stand it. Fredman hurriedly explained in tears, "Doctor, you have misunderstood, I am not a pervert, I have a serious problem with my body, I should show it to you. Otherwise, I will be finished." At this moment, the festering has become more serious. The male doctor glanced at it, sucked in a cold breath, and said, "This is your body tissue is completely necrotic, total necrosis?" "What do you mean?" The male doctor said, "There is no room for rescue. Like some people who have been in a car accident and their legs are crushed into fleshy flesh, they cannot recover and are facing serious infections. They have to amputate their limbs. There is no other way." "Amputation." Fredman's eyes were red, and he said crumbled, "Cut off my roots." The doctor nodded and said, "Hurry up and amputate it before it causes your body to fester." Fredman cried loudly, "I am a big man, how can I cut it off? I just want to keep my roots. Even if it doesn't work anymore, I want it to grow there for me honestly." Now he doesn't want to restore his original function, he cannot be bad, even if he is a living eunuch. Thinking of this, he hurriedly pleaded, "Doctor, as long as you can cure me, I am willing to pay no matter how much money you say. You can think of a way for me." The male doctor shook his head and said, "It's not about money. Your condition is very serious. Now it is completely necrotic. I suggest you cut it directly." With that, the doctor further explained, "If you don't cut it off and wait until the ulceration and infection become more serious, it will cause serious bacterial infections, leading to the collapse of your body's immunity, and it will be life-threatening. You know we have several times every year." This patient dragged himself to death because he refused to amputate. He died of an uncontrollable bacterial infection. Fredman was already scared. At this time, the male doctor comforted, "Don't worry, although your case is very rare, but I have done several similar operations before, and I will definitely cut you clean without leaving any lesions." When Fredman heard this, tears couldn't help but flow down his cheeks. "Doctor, I beg you, please show me a clear path. I really can't cut it off, I am a living eunuch, if it is really cut, more uncomfortable than a living eunuch. I might as well die." The male doctor said helplessly, "I'm sorry, our hospital really has no way to save. If you are unwilling to undergo amputation, we can't cure you, Fredman almost collapsed, gritted his teeth and said, "You rubbish, can't you even stop the ulceration?" The male doctor was also a little annoyed, and said solemnly, "Why can't you listen to what the doctor said? I told you, now this situation can only be amputated, and the possibility of preventing the ulcer is very slim. And don't think that it's just the root matter now. The infected bacteria will soon flow through the bloodstream. By that time, you will have a systemic infection and your life will be in danger." Fredman's heart completely collapsed, and the hatred in his heart for the Wei family was almost overwhelming at this moment. "Oh shit! Wei family! If my roots are gone, you Wei family will wait for the end. I want to turn your entire Wei family men into living eunuchs." Thinking of this, he shouted at the two bodyguards beside him, "Follow me to Wei's house. Join our Facebook and WhatsApp group for more updates, link is given in description." Rest audiobook will be continued in next episode.